Information tonight on the investigation into what caused the collapse of Champlain Tower South in Surfside.
Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. The Florida condo crisis continues to unravel, potentially causing the entire state's housing market to fall apart as a result of some of these condo owners being hit with assessments on their properties that are worth more than their actual property. In other words, you guys, the repairs to fix some of these condos out in Florida cost more than the actual dwelling. So this is a huge problem. This is no joke. There's a lot going on. Blew my mind. I have our community friend, colleague, my buddy Orlando Minor here with us today to give his perspective. Obviously, Orlando has a lot of behind the scenes knowledge on what happens with commercial financing. And if you guys want more information about Orlando, don't forget, you guys, he has a YouTube channel, Orlando Minor. It's right here. I mean, Orlando, you know, your videos have been blowing up. You've been on top of the layoffs. You've been on top of the, you know, and this is why I wanted to do it with you. You were one of the first people that I follow that made a video regarding the Florida condo crisis, and that kind of, you know, along with Melody Wright. Melody Wright gave me some info to start hunting, and my gosh, man, what I have undug is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, we're going to show the viewers proof positive mathematically that you should have rented. You should have rented. Owning a condo in Florida is not an asset. Owning a condo in Florida is a massive liability. So we'll show them. But before I start, Orlando, what's new?
Man, you know, just keeping the content coming, you know, being consistent, you know, letting people know exactly what's happening with the market. As we get closer to the end of the year, things start to fall apart. You know, layoffs are happening more. You know, everybody's getting ready for this rate cut. And I'm just trying to sound the alarm and let people understand that, yeah, he may do a rate cut. Let's say he does do it based on what everyone's saying. I mean, it still won't save you. Like, there's still a lot of things that are happening in the market that it's not going to halt a recession or anything like that. And that's a lot of people are saying. There are a lot of people are saying, like, oh, with this rate cut coming, everything's going to go back to the way it was. And I'm here to sound the alarm to let people know that that's not the case.
No, it's not. That's when the bad, I'm trying hard, man. You know, I'm trying hard. We're offering perspective. We're offering data, videos, collabs. I mean, I don't know what else we could. I mean, I'm offering free courses, man. I'm literally making courses for free to give back to the community to say, hey, we're going to grow together. So we're doing all of that. Now, where I want to start, Orlando, is by showing the viewers exactly what happened. So we're going to take a look at, you know, the Surfside condo collapse. Then we'll take a look at the new law. And then we're going to ask, the question is what are these new safety laws, which safety laws are important? What is that really doing to the owners? But let's start by taking a look in the past to remember what happened.
In the structural and geotechnical elements,
they say narrowed down to about 24 failure hypotheses. One of the most likely scenarios is the pool deck slab column connections.
Protection the concrete provides the rebar is compromised by cracking, resulting in corrosion.
Pointing out a history of water leaking into the garage and around the pool. Investigators also believe the columns along the south edge of the tower are another likely initiation point for the collapse.
Roughly 98 people passed away. They're in a condo in Florida. They had structural problems. A lot of it maybe had to do with the original construction, turns out, and also the saltwater corrosion. And so from there, Orlando, new laws were passed. And I want to get into those new laws. But first, do you have anything that you want to add on to how these condo buildings are being built? I mean, we know that they cannot withstand the corrosion. I mean, it's clear that we have that data now. Is it investing in a condo in Florida that's 30 years old? Is that a good idea, Orlando?
No.
Yeah.
You know, I you know, if you come to my channel, I'm like really against purchasing condos because it doesn't work as an investment. It doesn't work as you living in it because you end up spending. I always make this joke that people who buy condos are not only do they own a home, but they're also paying rent at the same time because they have to pay all these extra fees with the HOA and all this other stuff. So you're doing both at the same time, which doesn't make sense to me. Not only on top of that, condos are the first to go down and they're the first to go up. And almost every recession or downturn that you've seen, condos just fall off a cliff. And then when it rebounds, it goes back up. All you have to do is look at the last crisis that we had, the financial crisis, and look how far properties in condos in Miami and Florida dropped.
Yeah.
that same scenario is likely to happen. Yes, will it happen for a different reason? Yes, it will. But the outcome is still the same. We now have these condos that are 30 plus years old. This new law and is enacted, and now individuals have to come up with large sums of money. Where is that money going to come from?
Well, they don't have it. Some people have it, but a lot of people, they don't have it because these special assessments to repair. Well, and I'll get into that. I have a whole lineup for that, but
Right.
But let's go into like, okay, so what happened? Okay, so we had that collapse. Public starts being aware, like, whoa, maybe these condos are dangerous to live in. We don't want to die. Pass away in our sleep. So what happened is the officials passed a law called Senate Bill 4D, which requires condos and co-op buildings that are 3 stories or taller to undergo a structural integrity inspection when they turn 30 years old. But buildings near saltwater have to do this inspection at 25 years old. So far, hey, it's for your safety. It sounds like it's smart. They also did Senate Bill 154. So what's happening, Orlando, is as a result of these new laws and as a result of the additional verification of public safety, people can't afford it. Again, with the inflation, with all these other things, the view of the ocean, some of these people are dead in the water. But I want to play a video on just how these inspections are working.
Start survey work for a reserve study.
It is a now law-mandated reserve study for all buildings which have 3 or more stories.
All condo buildings that tall must be inspected, not only for structural defects, but to get a financial timeline of replacement of common items like roofs, flooring, and siding. It's the Florida legislature's response after Surfside.
Well, one thing I noticed with that inspector is at least she had brand new highlighters. It looked like green, red, and yellow. Not sure why you need 3 different highlighters that are brand new. Maybe, you know what it was, Orlando? She was excited she was going to be on the news. What are your thoughts on these inspections and whether or not they're necessary?
Well, they're definitely necessary, right? Because we all know that the corrosion that happens from salt water, this isn't something new. Back, 10, 15 years ago, when I was doing deals of individuals buying property in Hawaii, they had the same issues that the salt water was literally destroying the property. It destroys the windows, the siding, the wood. It just eats away at everything. So this isn't a secret. This hasn't been a secret. Most individuals know that if you buy a property on the ocean, you're going to get all this gunk and stuff that's on your walls, and you got to replace this, you got to replace that. So the repair issue has always been known. The catalyst that made lawmakers decide that they want to do something about it is when the 98 people died in that collapse. So they felt like they had to do something, even though they had been warned by other tenants, even though they knew that salt water destroys property, even though they had all this information, they still didn't do anything. It was only when the collapse happened that they said, you know what, we need to do something.
And that's a fact. And actually, even in Surfside, they have multiple reports of the building falling apart. And, I get it. I think the issue, Orlando, is people have an assumption that, hey, this is fine. If it wasn't, then someone, magically would come down from heaven to warn them. But the reality is no one is doing due diligence. The reality is, this sucks, man. This sucks. And what I want to move on to, and that was good, by the way, I appreciate that answer. But what I want to move on to is a couple of, of course, man. I want to move on to a couple of videos that are, listening to the owners being forced out of these condos. So now we have information, because this law is a few years old, but we have data, intel, and information that condos are being inspected, structural inspection. Come to find out, again, the repairs are more expensive than the actual dwelling. And these reports come back with massive safety issues. So the city comes in and kicks out owners, man. Owners. So you got these owners sitting in their condos, most of them retired. And then some of these people aren't even getting the 6-figure assessments. Some of these people are just saying, you gotta leave. There's nothing you could do. You got to leave. So let's let's start by listening to some of these videos, and I want to get your reaction.
The building is in need of significant deferred maintenance, which precedes TRD Biscayne LLC's completed acquisition of the property in December 2022. About 184 units at the property have been successfully vacated, with the exception of 6 remaining units remaining as unlawful inhabitants of the property.
My property is not for sale. I never put my property on the market. I came to this apartment in my wedding dress with my husband, got married in downtown. I made my children in this unit, and I wanted to come and retire here.
Someone bought it, right? So they did the inspection, massive problems, safety issues. And then they had a new developer come in to purchase the property. And I'm just like, how could you purchase the property, right? So they purchased the property, I think maybe 100, close to 180 units. There's still 6-7 units. And they're like, we don't want to sell to you. This is our home. We got married here. We had children here. And now that same developer is filing court actions against these existing homeowners, saying they're illegally in their own house. That's insane, Orlando. So we got multiple, there's multiple safety issues here. Can you go into the risk on, again, someone coming in and buying something out from underneath you, and, how, again, this all has to do with condos. You can't really do that with a home like an SFR, except with eminent domain. So this is crazy. This is a type of eminent domain safety public catastrophe happening. Do you want to break this down a little bit?
Yeah, it is kind of like an eminent domain. It's one of those scenarios where the city is saying to the owners, well, if you can't come up with the money, we will find someone who can come up with the money, because we're not going to pay for it to get fixed. So either you guys come up with all of the money to fix it and not be a liability on loss of life or something like that, or we go ahead and sell it to a developer who will then buy it and then do all the fix up and rehab itself. But here's the thing, the developer doesn't want those individuals in there. If anything, he wants to rebuild it and then resell it to new individuals or to those same individuals, even though that they own it. And I can almost guarantee you that they will get some type of payout, but it will not even be close to market value. It won't. It just won't be. It won't even be close to market value. So you have someone who bought a condo, and I'm just using random numbers of like for $300,000, and they'll get 50 cents on the dollar. They'll get $150,000 and told to get out of here, right? Because can you come up with the $100,000 for your unit that it needs to be fixed? Oh no, you can't. Well, sorry, take the $150. And leave. And here's the thing, a lot of those individuals still have mortgages on it. So at the very end of it, either you will get short sold out, or you will get nothing back at all. You're just gonna break even. That's what's gonna happen, which is insane. Even after you've paid all the HOA fees, after you've paid all the insurance, after you've done all this other stuff, aside from paying the mortgage, you lose all of your equity and you've lost all of the money that you've given to external parties, all gone.
I mean, it doesn't even seem like is possible in America. I have an assumption where I'm working hard, I'm paying my bills. You can't take my house. You can't do that to me. But that's exactly what's happening, Orlando. I mean, it's not only happening.
That's exactly what's happening.
It's spreading. The magnitude at which this whole thing is like metastasizing. It's absolutely shocking. And here's the other crazy thing. I'm going to play a couple of videos now, and we're going to listen to some residents. They were hit with special assessments over $100,000. A special assessment is like, you haven't been paying enough for the repairs, because condo owners have an HOA they pay monthly to, right, for maintenance. But what they're finding out is actually the entire building is worthless. Yeah.
Let me just add on to this, is that a lot in this video, you will see a lot of news articles and the reporters say that the law says it has to be 3 stories, right? But let me tell you what, SALT doesn't care if it's 3 stories or not. It's going to affect you at 2 and 1 story also. And so what you have is a lot of HOAs that are understanding that, hey, look, we may not be required by law to get these fixes, but we're still going to get affected the same way from the outside as everyone else. So they're proactively pushing to get their reserves up and everything else. That's the reason why you're seeing news coverage on these 2-story or 1-story villages or condos, and the HOA is still asking for those additional funds, because they know at the end of the day, if they don't ask for those funds, then the property is just going to deteriorate anyway. And here's the thing, HOAs or any external partner, no one wants the liability. No one wants the liability for something caving in and collapsing, no matter if it's 1 story or 2 stories, and it's not underneath that law. No one wants to be on the hook for that. So they're going to make sure that they have all of their reserves filled and everything like that. And that's the reason why you're seeing individuals have to come up with $200,000. And in my comment section, people are saying, well, Orlando, that's not part of the law. It's not part of the law. Well, HOAs are making it their problem and their issue to make sure that they collect, even from the lower tier individuals.
Well, and I would say to those people, it actually is part of the law. There's a new law that was passed saying that, hey, we got to do a structural engineer report. If it comes back and hot, you guys got to fix it or get out. Am I missing something from these? I mean,
you're not.
Okay, all right.
You're not.
And just to add, case to point, let's listen to this next video.
For answers, Christian Murray has lived in the Palm Bay Yacht Club condos since 2016. Now he and many other residents are worried if they'd be able to keep their homes. The building needed to be recertified, meaning an engineer needed to come in and see if the building needed structural and electrical repairs. Now, it's not uncommon that these things need to be fixed, but get this, when the property managers brought in their engineer, they claimed the building needed $46 million in repairs. So let's break this down. $46 million means that every condo owner needed to cough up approximately $175,000. Now keep in mind, the entire building itself is worth $50 million.
$47 million to repair, building worth $50 million. And if they have mortgages, they're like negative LTV. My gosh, I mean, can you, I've been working with Mitch a lot. Mitch says the true value of some of these buildings is the land minus demo costs. It looks like, Orlando, that some of these residential properties where you have mom and pop, you have actually, people living there, children, all of those things. It looks like they're falling victim to the same catastrophe that's happening with commercial buildings around the nation. Is it an asset? Is a condo, so far what we've reviewed, is a condo an asset, man? And I know I've asked you this, but just beat it up. Beat it up, man.
I mean, like technically, yes, but I mean, if it's not but if it's you're negative in the asset, then no, I would not consider that an asset. I mean, it's a liability for sure, right? And so the problem being with this is that we just saw that it was worth $50 million and need $47 million worth of repair, and I would argue that a lot of those repair do not increase the value, right? I know a lot of people would say to themselves like, oh, well, Orlando, safety would increase the value, but it's just like you getting a new roof on your house or you putting a new furnace. It does not increase the value of the home. Just because you got a new furnace doesn't mean you're going to get $50,000 worth of valuation added because you add a new furnace. It's structurally something that's supposed to be already embedded in the house, right? So that's the issue that I see, is that you're asking individuals for $175,000. This is their hard-earned money. This is someone's retirement that is going to just be depleted. And you're asking them to give you this amount of money, and there is no added value of equity. There's no nothing. What is the purpose of that? What makes that's working in the opposite direction. And here's the problem. A lot of these individuals everybody I know bought that condo not because they thought the property value was going to go down, not because they thought they were going to break even, because they thought they were going to make money on the asset itself.
And another reason why people buy condos, Orlando, is so they don't have to deal with the maintenance.
Yes, of course. But this maintenance is all
they were
on you.
wrong about that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you guys got blindsided because, right? Like, they don't have to do the yard, small yards. The outside of the dwelling is often insured, except what we're finding out with these HOA assessments, they were never insured, right? Yeah, because you're upside down, $175,000. But Orlando, the thing is, that's just one situation. It gets worse. Listen to this.
Assessment, the total assessment for the apartment we're sitting in, is what?
Approximately $224,000.
When you say that number, can you believe it?
No, not at all.
That's on top of their monthly maintenance that's gone from $1,500 to $3,000.
We never anticipated to have this escalation.
According to Condo Docs, assessments in Mediterranean Village in Williams Island, where Konitz lives, are as high as $400,000 for just one apartment.
Okay, Orlando, we had two things that happened there. 400,000. So we have, the man that they were interviewing, 224. There was a couple neighbors I saw on that list that was up to 400, two of them. But it's something else that we haven't even talked about yet. Their HOA, their monthly maintenance fee to their HOA goes from $1,500 to $3,000. That in itself, if you're not receiving money, that in itself, it can bankrupt people. A $1,500 increase on only your HOA payment, not taxes, not insurance. You know what I mean? Can you go into how bad that really is? I mean, they're getting double whammy there, man.
Yeah, it goes to my statement that you're owning and renting at the same time. Like you're paying a mortgage on the property that you own, and then you're paying an HOA fee that is now doubled to $3,000, and then you still have to pay insurance and taxes. And let's not forget that most individuals that do buy a condo, you have to have two insurances. You have to have the one with the HOA, and then you have to have your own personal insurance. So you're getting hit over and over and over because you want to live in the no state tax area, and you want to live in sunshine land and great weather, and all those things are great. But this is the reason why I sway people away from condos. I know it's one of those things where you feel like everything is being taken care of, the maintenance, low maintenance in the area, you're close to, it takes away all of that extra stuff that you have to do. And I understand that, but the numbers just don't make sense. It just doesn't. And then if you try to turn it around, which a lot of people do, they try to turn it around and they try to lease the property out. You're not making any money on that too, because you have so many fees associated with it. The HOA fee continues to go up and the rent never even catches up. The rent never Imagine this. This guy just told you his HOA fee is $3,000. Let's just say you add another $1,500 onto that. That's $4,500. I haven't even added the other insurance and property taxes. Can you rent that for $4,500 a month? You can't. No. Can you rent that for $4,500? You can't. The numbers don't even make sense.
Orlando, the building that's falling down, you're saying, can I rent
exactly.
that? I don't know. Maybe. If you don't mind, it's falling down.
Exactly. So not only do you try to move it over and you can't find somebody at $4,500, maybe you get it at $2,000, so you got to pay the rest plus the extra that I didn't even talk about. And then you have to convince someone, and then now you're put in a liability scenario where you now move someone into a property that you know needs repair, that you know is a liability of falling down. Most people won't. I mean, it's a horrible situation. And this is the reason why I say no condos. I've said it from the very beginning of my channel. No condos.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. My first house I owned when I was 20, it was a condo. Mm-hmm. My second house, it was a condo in Southern California. So I agree with you. Condos are dangerous. Again, the premise is the only thing I can think of is just the low upkeep. Now, here's the other thing, Orlando. I don't want people to feel like this is just isolated to pocket areas. This is happening all over the coastline in Florida. Mm-hmm. And so listen to this story.
And it says we are to be evicted in 5 days.
She and her fiancé moved from New York City to retire in Miami Beach. She bought the place a year ago for $130,000.
It's walking distance to the stores. We can go to stores. We can go out at night.
The owners of 102 units at the Garden of the Bay, a waterfront property located at 6484 Indian Creek Drive in Miami Beach, received the same letter on Thursday.
I'm really shocked, not sure what to do with it. Just probably have to hire a lawyer. I'm sad about the situation.
Orlando, when I hear him say, he's just shaking his head, I guess I'm just going to have to hire a lawyer. I mean, I don't think that some of these people fully are comprehending that they just got obliterated. Do you think him, hiring an attorney, do you think that's going to be more harm than good? Do you think he should just cut his losses now and leave?
You know, I would always tell people that you have the right to defend yourself, right? You have the right to go out and get a lawyer and do all of that, do all the things that you feel that you need to defend yourself. And so I wouldn't say that he doesn't need to get one. What I would say is that the probability of you getting anything out of hiring a lawyer is extremely low, right? And so you're fighting the state of Florida, right? And you're fighting a law that was enacted because people died, right? And if you really think about it, the only way for this to work is if the state of Florida coughs up money and pays to do all the rehab stuff themselves. But you know the problem with that? The state of Florida doesn't want the liability. They don't want to go hire a contractor, pay them $45 million, $47, $50 million to do the job, and then something happens, a collapse, people die, and it's on them. They don't want that. They want the liability to be on on other people, on the individual owners, property management. They want the onus to be on them. And on top of that, how would you expect the state of Florida to do it when the state of Florida can't even provide insurance? We know what's happening with the insurance. They're insolvent. They can't even provide insurance for any property unless it's $10,000, $18,000 a year. So not only do you have an issue with properties being structurally not sound, but then now you also have an issue with insurance that's ridiculously high. So how do you solve both of those issues? Both of those issues need money, and that's all, and that's money that the state of Florida does not have. So it's a horrible situation, and unfortunately, I just believe that you can get a lawyer, you can defend it, but at the end of the day, they're going to come back and say, this is the law. Either pay it or get out or sell it. It's going to be on you to figure it out. But it's unfortunate, man. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. And the other thing that's unfortunate is come to find out that the consumer protection laws are absolutely disgusting. I'm going to show you a video of a senior citizen community that had their rent jacked up in the middle of their lease. How can you have your rent go up, Orlando, in the middle of your lease? And why is it always appear to be senior citizens? Take a listen to this.
Today, Tucker Tower Management posted a flyer on April 30th announcing an increase in rent starting today, in some cases by as much as $138 a month. Some residents feared being unable to stay after moving in just a few months ago.
My health is not good. I'm not sleeping. I'm on the verge of crying right now.
Orlando, one thing I'm noticing at each and every one of these videos, it doesn't look like they're doing too well. It doesn't look like they're happy owners. Of course. I'll end us by looking at like the homeowners insurance, property taxes, prices. I'll show everyone that Florida is collapsing. But can you go into what do you think about her having her rent increased? It's a senior citizen community increased after 2 months of moving in. Do you think that's right? And should that be illegal? Should that be legal?
Of course not. I mean, you signed a lease, and the lease says this is what the rent is, and that's what the rent is. So I think that's wrong. I think that shouldn't happen. And for whatever the reason, my guess is that they need the money for repairs and whatnot. That's just not the way to do it. You sign a lease, and that's the agreement, and that's that. Now, I do believe in those scenarios, that you could go to court and you could actually win in that scenario. But the question is if she doesn't have the money for a $150 increase, how would she have the money to pay for a lawyer? She doesn't. She doesn't have that money. And a lot of times these corporations or landlords understand that, and they say, well, if you can't pay it, then just leave. If you can't pay it, we'll just find someone else. And I am a huge if individuals watch my channel, I am a huge advocate of not gouging your tenants. If you have a tenant in there that is great, good, why are you knocking up rent $200, $300, $400, $500 a month just because you can? When you know you raising the rent up that high, no one is going to accept that. No one is going to accept that because it's just disrespectful. It really is. Raising the rent up that high on somebody and expecting them to say it's just plain disrespect. And this is the reason why you see a lot of apartment complexes now having high vacancy rates. This is the reason why you see 8, 9, 10% in areas like Austin and San Francisco. It's because a lot of landlords believe that they can get away with this type of stuff. And I tell people on my channel, just if your landlord's going to treat you like that, just take your business elsewhere. Take your business, because here's the truth of the matter. Vacancy rates are so high, you can go around the corner, probably get a newer unit and a newer unit at a cheaper price.
You know, so essentially what's happening is these landlords, whether you like them, whether you don't like them, they're passing on the expense to the tenants. And it seems like Orlando, what happened here is they got blindsided with some type of expense. And in order for that landlord potentially not to go bankrupt, they pass it on to the tenants. And so now I question, is the Fed responsible for all of this? In other words, if we didn't have the Fed, do you think that we would be having the situations we're having with massive corruption, fraud, and overvaluation? I mean, these houses aren't worth what it is. We know that because we just heard that the building's apparently worth $50 million, but it costs $47 million to repair.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Fed, I think the Fed is just a part of at the very end of it, he's just a cog in a system, right? And I believe at the end of the day, it's people who will make decisions and understand and try to make things work in a scenario like this. And, you know, the Fed could do all what it does, but if landlords and humans don't implicate or understand that charging someone, having someone sign a lease 2 months ago and then raising the rent on them $150, that's crazy, then there's nothing you can do. That person was going to do that anyway. That person was going to try to gouge that individual, maybe not on this turn, but maybe the next turn. And so I just believe that, yeah, the Fed is going to do what the Fed does, right? But at the end of the day, it's people's responsibility, landlords, individuals, and stuff like that, to understand that gouging people is not the way. And that's the reason why I'm such a big believer in individuals that have the opportunity to walk away from someone gouging them and go somewhere else to do that, and not to just lay down and just say, oh, well, they're charging $200, nothing I can do about it, when you do have the option to say no to that, right? You have the option to say no. Walk away from that. I would suggest, and I understand that everybody's situation isn't my situation or your situation. Everybody's situation isn't the same. But I would suggest that if you cannot get that landlord to knock the price back to its original agreed price in that lease, either you sue them, or you walk away from the deal. Let me ask you this. What are the chances that if you walk away from the lease that he knocked up on you, what are the chances that landlord is going to come after you?
Well, probably not, because they'll have to fight. But the other issue, though, Orlando, is like some of these people are in such rough shape. They may not have the cost to move. It could cost $2,000. You got your new security deposit, utilities. This is just a really, really bad situation. And the amazing thing, Orlando, it gets worse. Take a look at this. Here we have the HOA increases on average. And again, this is a statewide issue. I'll ask the final question, whether or not you think that the Florida house market is collapsing. But look at this, guys. Year over year changes in only HOA. This is not taxes. This is not even insurance. 17.2% year over year increase in Tampa, 16.7% in Orlando, 16.2% in Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, 12.8% in HOA, Jacksonville, 7.6%. There's Miami under our head at 5.7%. In addition to that, Orlando, it gets even crazier when we start talking about the actual insurance. Florida home insurance rates, on top of the crisis with condos, okay? On top of that, Florida insurance rates are the highest in the nation and expected to climb even higher, with the average in 2024 expected to be, you ready for this? For homeowners insurance, Orlando, $1,000 a month, $11,759 per year. And like you hinted before, the state of Florida, it was supposed to help, right? Citizens insurance, but now they're creating depopulation letters. And now they're allowing private insurance companies to come in and take over existing policies, increasing the cost right in the middle. Right in the middle, just like those renters got their rent hikes right in the middle of a contract, the same thing is happening in the form of these depopulation letters.
Just to add on to that, a lot of these private insurers are sending these letters out to senior citizens, and you have 30 days to respond. Right. And then by the time that you get the letter, and you know, senior citizens, they're not looking at every piece of mail. They don't know how to work. And here's the thing, you can only respond online. Like, you can't respond by mail. You can't go to the city hall. You can only respond online, which they know is seniors don't really get online like that, right? My grandma doesn't know anything about the internet. Anything about
Orlando,
the internet.
my dad doesn't know anything about the internet, let alone my grandma.
So you're going to make seniors respond online to something that they don't know that comes in the mail, and then you start the clock from the date of you printing out the letter. How long does it take to get there?
Let's go buy some Florida condos, Orlando. What a great investment. Fear of missing out. And you know, let me just get to the property taxes. Property taxes from 2019 to 2023 puts the average Floridan median tax rate of, and this is to 2023, of $3,003. All right. And the crazy thing about it is, again, it's not the worst state, but it's got to be one of the top 10 worst states for property tax. So when you combine all of those things together, Orlando, it brings me to the last conclusion here, which is the Florida housing market is crashing. The condos, especially next to the coast, are leading that crash. And quite frankly, we knew this was going to happen. We knew this wasn't sustainable. We knew people couldn't afford to do this. Do you want to add anything to the fact that Florida's going to crash, and it's going to crash hard?
Yeah, I mean, if you just do the numbers, guys, if you just look at the numbers, there's no way for someone to come up with $200,000 on the fly. And a lot of times these HOAs will be like, well, how about we do a payment plan? And then you got to come up with $200,000 in the next year or 2 years. Individuals still don't have that. Right? And then you add on insurance, then you add on the increase in HOA, then you add on property taxes, and then we add on everything is way more expensive. No matter if you're buying a refrigerator or you're buying flooring, it's more expensive. The service and the labor is more expensive. But here is a key thing that I want to really, really knock home. What happens when you give all of this extra money to an HOA, right? An HOA, and they go ahead and do all the repairs. Does that mean that you won't have to pay for any more repairs in the next 30 years, 15 years, or 10 years? Or can they come back to you in 3 more years and say, we need to do something else? We need to fix XYZ, and that's going to be an additional $30,000 from each tenant. They can. And that's the problem. A lot of times people believe that, oh, I'll go ahead and pay this $200,000, but it won't be the last $200. It's like the mob. You know, you go ahead and you pay the mob. You go ahead and pay the mob the upfront fee that they're asking. Say, okay, guys, okay, don't try to shake me down anymore. But they're going to come back. That's what's going to happen.
Give a round of applause for Orlando. Comment below. Let us know if you liked it. Don't forget, again, you guys, go to his channel. He's not getting paid any money to do this. He's just helping with his perspective, sharing it with our community. But go over to Orlando Miner. He talks about all these things, layoffs, condos, real estate. And the thing I love about Orlando is he's being honest. He's not one of these guys that's, what I notice is especially on YouTube, people will say, and that's on both sides of the coin. That's what drives me crazy. It's like, at this point, I just want people to be honest. I don't even care if you're on the other side of the coin, just please be honest. I'm noticing even people that are saying the housing market's going to crash, they're still leading people to purchase a house. At the end of their, it's still up to you. Here's my link, fill out, a lead, and let's go buy you a residential property. And it drives me crazy, Orlando. And so I appreciate you. I thank you for being here. Once again, to the viewers, show this man some love. Share with us your opinions on this video in the comment section. And other than that, guys, we wish you a very happy, what day is it? I don't even know what day it is anymore. It's only Tuesday.
It's only Tuesday.
I thought it was Friday. Happy Tuesday, guys. Happy Tuesday. And if you're out there investing in real estate, you guys already know we wish you luck and we hope you Am I hitting puberty? That was weird. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did.
When?